deals. This should be fun.
Well, let's get started. The National Institutes of Health lists more than 31,000 studies on the medical applications of cannabis. It seems every day we hear about another breakthrough.
Yeah, without question. I mean, scientists are discovering new medical uses for cannabis at a faster rate than ever before. As far as I'm concerned, this is the industry's most important trend. And you know, I may have missed it if it wasn't for my mother-in-law. She hurt her neck in a freak diving accident when she was young, and cannabis has been really good for her. And I got hit once or twice during my football career, and after a while, those hits add up.
27 surgeries, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had 4 neck surgeries, 3 back surgeries, 3 or 4 elbows, a handful of knees. I'm up to 4 shoulder surgeries. It's right after one of my neck operations. I'm trying to hang in there and be a tough guy. But I guess I was pretty obviously I was hurting because my mother-in-law asked me if I'd ever tried marijuana. And I said, it's legal, right? And why not? So I started using the cannabis balm, and it really helped wipe out the pain, and I sleep like a baby.
Cannabis is literally saving lives. PTSD and chronic pain are both helping fuel the deadly opioid epidemic. Now, it's looking like cannabis could be our best defense. One study from last summer found that 88% of people suffering from chronic pain were able to completely replace their opioid use with cannabis. And overall, states that have legalized cannabis have seen a stunning drop in overdoses. Up to 1/3 of all deaths are being prevented. Mike, if this plant hadn't been around for so long, and if someone had just discovered it in the Amazon jungle, we'd be calling it a miracle.
And looking at the economics, the math on this is almost incomprehensible. You have a $1.2 trillion pharmaceutical industry. Now, there's a new player into the market, it's medical cannabis, the fastest growing sector of the cannabis industry. It's projected to hit $148 billion over the next 6 years. That's 1,260% higher than where it sits today. It's astronomical growth potential. I mean, take Crohn's disease. About 800,000 Americans suffer from it. In one study alone, 90% of patients saw significant improvement after using cannabis.
Treating epilepsy offers a lot of promise. We've seen those stories on 60 Minutes and CNN. Children suffering from non-stop seizures. Doctors prescribe a genetically altered form of cannabis that doesn't produce the psychoactive high, and suddenly those seizures disappear. The children can live normal lives.
A while back, GW Pharmaceuticals developed a very special promising treatment for epilepsy. It's their drug Epidiolex. They were granted FDA approval, and GW stock has shot up as much as 1,830%. InMed Pharmaceuticals has treatments for glaucoma, pain, and a rare skin condition in their pipeline. And investors have seen shares jump as much as 2,900%. And Supreme Cannabis Company launched a line of alternative medicine and wellness products with CBD. They've already delivered peak gains of over 4,800%.
For any medical stock, that's exceptional. It's rare to see gains like that.
Danny, for investors, the upside with medical cannabis is indisputable. But for the sake of this discussion, let's just take it off the table. And what would you tell a new cannabis investor is the hottest trend?
Well, that's easy. The rise of cannabis brands. Think about it. If I asked you to name 2 brands of soda, I bet you I could guess your answer.
Oh yeah, Coke and Pepsi.
Right. And when you're headed to the grocery store, I bet you already know the brand of cereal or chips or ketchup you'll buy before you walk in. But who are the mega brands in cannabis?
Well, there aren't any. Not yet, at least, but they're coming. And if you invest in them today when no one's heard of them, you could make a lot of money when they pop. So how do you build a cannabis brand, a company whose name is synonymous with the product?
2 words, vertical integration. Vertical integration means you control the entire supply chain. You have the cannabis cultivation that grows the cannabis. You've got the processing operations that create the cannabis edibles and infused drinks. And you have the dispensaries that sell your products.
Yeah, you control your cannabis from seed to sale.
And you control your brand. Canopy Growth is a first-generation cannabis company. Early on, they set out to achieve full vertical integration. They had a cultivation operation that they scaled up to be the biggest in Canada. When they were flush with cash, they went on the hunt for future brands, scooping up a bunch of small startups like Tokyo Smoke and Vanderpop. Maybe they could have too become mega brands someday. But Canopy wasn't going to wait to find out. They bought them, and they helped Canopy reach a multi-billion-dollar valuation.
Now, a while back, Bruce Linton, one of Canopy's founders, met with us at the Institute. He wanted to give us a close look at his company and this string of brilliant moves his team pulled off. Pure genius.
And what happened next, Mike? Canopy caught the attention of Constellation, the guys who make Corona beer. Constellation asked how much to buy in, and that number was more than $5 billion. So what did Canopy do with this cash? Well, they inked a $3.4 billion deal to acquire Acreage Holdings. And who sits on the board of Acreage Holdings? John Boehner, one of the founding members of our institute. Canopy already had the cultivation operations, they had the growing portfolio of high-quality products, and Acreage had a vast network of dispensaries across America. With this deal, Canopy is set to tap into that network and achieve full vertical integration. And that is how you build a brand. And, to no surprise, in one of the best run-ups I've ever seen, Canopy's stock spiked as much as 6,568%. Chances are, the biggest cannabis brands in the future are tiny companies right now. If you can identify prime candidates, you could be sitting pretty when they make a name for themselves.
Mike, I chose medical cannabis. Danny chose brands. Now it's your turn. What's your number one trend in cannabis?
Joe, that would be easy. It's the merging of cannabis and technology. I mean, this is not an industry controlled by farmers wearing straw hats, growing weed in a bunch of poorly lit, dilapidated barns. Cannabis has exploded during this age of innovation. Our world is powered by machine learning and artificial intelligence, supercomputers, robotics, and automation. I mean, the major players in cannabis have integrated those innovations into their state-of-the-art facilities. I mean, if you show up at a cannabis farm today, you'll find plants growing in rows of precisely engineered hydroponic tubes. Those tubes are filled with a carefully measured blend of nutrients that are automatically released at the right time. Overhead, there's specialized lighting that emits the exact wavelengths cannabis plants need. Then on top of it all, you have devices that use machine learning to predict crop yields and detect any threats to the plants. You even have robots that can automatically trim the flower when it's ready. Companies have developed the technology that makes all of this possible, like Grow Generation. They offer hydroponic systems and climate control tech for growing cannabis. They were a big win for investors. Then there's Generation Alpha. They make nutrients and pH stabilizers for cannabis plants. Another big win for investors. Now, when you have a new industry, it creates new challenges and new problems to solve. Perfect example. If a cop pulls someone over and suspect they've been drinking, they're going to give the driver a breathalyzer test, right? Well, what if the cop believes that the driver is under the influence of cannabis? How do you test for that? That's the problem Cannabix set out to solve. They invented a breathalyzer that detects cannabis.
Oh, and let me guess, a big win for investors, right?
I bet it was. It was an enormous win.
Guys, it doesn't matter if it's a cannabis stock with a promising medical treatment or an up-and-coming brand or the inventor of some cannabis technology being touted as a game changer. You still need to determine whether that stock can be a winning investment.
You've got to understand the risks, too.
Exactly. It's not hard to pick companies that have already reached multi-billion-dollar valuations. Not as risky, but their upside's gone. Most of it, at least.
You want the stocks that are next in line to join that billion-dollar club. And that being said, anybody following the news is aware of this. There was a major correction with cannabis stocks. Companies lost billions and billions of dollars.
And when it comes to investing, losses come with the territory. There's no doubt about that. Pretty much every cannabis investor took a hit, including us. But it was a blessing in disguise.